the previous lectures, I have given you different examples of application of IIoT in different domains such as healthcare, food processing, facility management, inventory management, and so on and so forth. I would like to briefly expose you to the different applications of IIoT in the chemical industry, oil industry, and the pharmaceutical industry. As I told you earlier as well, that in all of these different application domains, the core technology, the core technological ideas remain the same. They cannot be changed, and they are basically the ones that we have discussed in the previous modules. So, the only thing that changes is basically the type of sensors that would be used, the specific requirements that a particular industry has, and certain industry specific, industry vertical, industry domain specific requirements. But that is basically mostly dealt with in the application level, and at the network, at the device level, more or less the concepts remain similar. So, in this lecture also, consequently, I am not going to talk about anything new drastically, but I am going to expose you to some of the requirements that are specific to these industries, oil, chemical, and pharmaceutical, and how these specific sensors and their interconnectivity can help address the issues that these industries face. So, let us look at these issues in detail. But before we do that, I would like to have a recap, because this is going to be the last application that I am going to expose you to in this particular section on applications. I am going to take you through a recap of the the issues that are there and the advantages that can be obtained from IoT implementations in the industry. In other words, in a nutshell, let us talk about the specificities of industrial IoT once again. We have looked at it in different levels of detail earlier, but now I am going to expose you to the summary of the different requirements that are there. So, we want to, industries have been operating in their respective fashions since ages, whether we are talking about the oil industry, whether we are talking about the chemical, pharmaceutical, or manufacturing industries. Things have been going on since ages, since decades. Things have been carried on using traditional methodologies, but only now we are talking about the use of IoT or IIoT solutions, and we are doing that in order to improve certain things. We want to improve the efficiency, we want to improve the overall cost effectiveness, operations, and so on and so forth. In other words, what we want to do is that we want to add value. We want to add value to the products and the processes that are already there, the traditional ones. We want to add value by integrating IoT strategies, IoT solutions to these products and services. So, value addition should come out through this incorporation or integration of IoT solutions. Essentially, what is going to happen? We are going to improve efficiency, we are going to increase the reliability, safety, security, maximize the profit, maximize production, and at the same time we are going to slash the cost of production, the cost of manufacturing, the cost of the goods in turn. So, improving the productivity, reducing the cost is essentially, in a nutshell, we can say that are the benefits of integration of IoT solutions in the industry sector. Now, let us come to the specificities in terms of oil and gas industry. So, There are different efforts globally that are going on in this particular industry domain, oil and gas industry domain. Lot of efforts are going on, lot of these different industries operating in these spheres. They are talking about having solutions where integration of IoT with their existing processes, machinery, etc. are going to happen. The benefits is something that I have already told you at the outset, but what is going to happen is through the integration, the oil and gas companies would be able to directly manage their existing assets, supply chains or customer relationships, and that basically will help the business overall. The productivity of the business is going to improve, the customer relationship is going to improve, the asset management is going to improve, the cost reduction is going to happen, and so on. So, overall this is what is going to happen in the oil and gas industry through the integration of IoT solutions. This is a quote that I have taken from a Deloitte literature. So, this is something that you are already familiar with. We have looked at it, re-looked at it in different ways, but essentially, as I told you earlier, everything remains the same. The only thing that changes is basically the industry domain specific requirements. But from a technology point of view, from an IoT deployment point of view and IoT solution point of view, things are essentially the same. But still, for completeness sake, for getting a breadth of idea about implementation issues in different domains, let us still have a relook at the entire process of integration of IoT. So, ultimately what we need? We need data. We need data. We need data for doing different things. We need data for predicting something that might happen in the future, mishappenings in the future, events and misevents that are going to occur in the future. So, this is what might happen. We need data about different parts of the process, we need data about the health condition of the machines, we need data about the workforce, the employees that are working, and so on. So, we need data. We need data to do predictive analytics. So, depending on what analytics we would like to do, the specific objectives that we have, we means the specific industry that is implementing, the oil and gas industry that is implementing this solution, they would have some specific analytics objective. So, based on that objective, different IoT devices are going to be deployed, sensors, actuators, etc. are going to be deployed in different locations. Different locations in the plant, within the plant, also in different machines that are going to be involved in the process, in the supply chain, and so on. So, different IoT devices are going to be deployed. Thereafter, these devices would generate lot of data. These data could be even augmented with certain simulated data as well. Those data, the real ones plus the simulated ones, could be together used to analyze. They could be analyzed a priori to extract, transform and load the processes. The ETL processes could be implemented thereafter. The data thereafter can be moved after this basic processing, ETL processing. The data could be moved to the cloud based platform where in-depth analytics is going to be performed, and these analytics solutions are going to be commensurate with the analytics objectives that were set at the outset. And finally, based on the results of the analytics, requisite actions are going to be taken. For example, the devices that need future maintenance would be identified. Also, the devices which would need immediate maintenance, they would be identified. The segregation of the data, segregation of the machinery consequently based on different criteria are going to happen. So, this is overall the entire life cycle of IoT deployment till control of machinery. This is overall the life cycle, the workflow that is going to be implemented, and this is going to be implemented in the oil and gas industry. And this is what is already happening. This is what is already happening. There are existing works, initiatives that are focusing on implementation of this kind of solution in the oil and gas industry. So, for analytics we need what? We need huge processing capabilities, we need adequate intelligence in the form of machine learning AI algorithms, which in turn are going to be executed at the cloud, right. So, we need all of these. So, these are the steps in the machine learning and cloud based services that are going to be integrated with the IoT solutions for the oil and gas industry. So, this is already something that is happening, right. Different systems are being deployed in these industries globally in order to realize these solutions. So, basically it starts like this, that it starts with examining the current state of the architecture. Thereafter, the next step is going to be identifying the specific data type, finding the assumptions and constraints of the data types, identifying the requisite, the suitable, the targeted machine learning algorithm that is applicable, identifying the cloud platform, analyzing and evaluating the data, providing a top down review and illustrating the context, limitations and solutions, and creating a roadmap. So, it is in these phases that we could also implement a suitable visualization engine for appropriate monitoring and understanding of the results of analytics. So, overall we want to improve the operations. Different attributes such as predictive maintenance, location intelligence, pipeline monitoring, equipment monitoring, monitoring of the different sensors that are integrated to the pipelines, to the machines, etc. Real time machines taking part in these industries, in the different processes, their execution and so on, and fleet operations, all of these, their operations and so on, the performance overall could be improved with the incorporation or integration of IoT solutions. IoT not only does what I just told you, but IoT is also capable of increasing the customer loyalty, connecting the business, connecting different businesses and different other components, smart applications, energy consumption profiles and so on. So, all of these things could be improved and could be made handy and available to the IoT to the customers that are there in these different industries. So, the benefits of using IoT in oil and gas industries is already quite apparent, but essentially let us recap and try to summarize what are the different benefits. Benefits include increase in production efficiency, saving on costs, saving on the time, improving asset maintenance, enhancing productivity, work safety, supply chain planning and so on. In the chemical industry likewise, IoT could be used for improving the overall processes, productivity, reducing costs and so on and so forth. So, in the chemical industry, once again let us have a look at these different benefits. We can have predictive maintenance, we can have condition based monitoring of different machinery that are taking part in these industries to carry out different processes, to execute them and so on. Improvement of logistics could also be done, improvement of the quality, improvement of the management of the different equipments in these industries, minimizing the supply chain risk and reduction of energy expenses. These are the different benefits that could be achieved through IoT integration in the chemical industry. Predictive maintenance, such as addressing different issues that are going to happen in real time in the future, now and also in the future. So, seconds later to minutes later to hours later, things that can happen. So, predicting those in advance is what predictive maintenance concerns. Reducing the equipment breakdown and downtime is what is going to be the benefit out of predictive maintenance. So, what is required is through appropriate predictive maintenance through IoT integration, we are going to have efficient and effective maintenance and improvement of quality by efficient IoT analytics programs, and in turn improving the overall services that are delivered. So, condition based monitoring is going to be possible. It is going to be possible to predict the quality by continuous monitoring, water, nutrients, pesticides, their analysis, and analysis in real time is going to happen through the integration of IoT solutions. Analytics predicting weather and their impact on farming and adjusting the amount of required material, pricing models with profit margin, these are the different attributes of condition based monitoring which are going to be implemented through the integration of IoT solutions. Improving logistics, ensuring product location through sensors or RFID tags, tracking of assets to prevent loss, detection of contamination or attacks, alert notification, warehouse monitoring are the different things that can help improve the logistics. Reducing energy expenses, energy usage, regulatory control, analyzing real time data, improving the usage pattern, behavioral pattern of users, inefficiency, reduction of inefficiency. So, these are the different characteristics, different things about the energy expenses, and reduction of energy expenses is of concern. Minimizing supply chain risk, chemical manufacturers can respond immediately to the required process whenever it is required, as and when it is required, based on the specific requirements that might be there. Real time monitoring in the supply chain of equipment, materials being used, raw materials, finished products, finished goods, processes, workers, environment, everything in real time, monitoring in real time of the entire supply chain and the participants in the supply chain, be it the humans, the workers, the laborers and so on, or be it the different machinery, everything is going to be possible to be monitored everything in the supply chain is going to be possible to be monitored in real time. So, before I talk about IoT in pharmaceutical industry, let me see whether we understand this in detail enough. So, let us try to look at this particular thing. Let us say that we have, so we want IoT implementation in the oil and chemical industry, right. So, we are essentially talking about what? We are talking about different industries, right, different industries etc. in this domain. These are, let us say, the industries that would deploy different sensors in these different parts of these industries, in the different industrial floor, the fields, the field equipment and so on. So, all of these different sensors are going to be deployed. So, these data are finally going to reach some server or some cloud service, let us say, which has storage plus processing capability, and this data would be analyzed and would be made available to, let us say, the manager. So, manager at a high level I am mentioning. So, it could be any type of manager, whoever needs access to the data. So, this is holistically how it is going to happen. And so, for chemical and oil industry, these different sensors, I have given different labels for different sensors that could be used. The different sensors that could be used could be your traditional ones, the common ones like your temperature sensor, different other sensors like proximity sensor, pressure sensor, maybe water quality sensor. So, these are these different types of sensors, and also some specific chemical sensors could also be used. So, these are the generic ones, generic sensors, and some chemical sensors could be used. For example, so we could have the chemical field effect transistors, we could have electrochemical gas sensors, or different other types of gas sensors also, fluorescent chloride sensors, fluorescent chloride sensors, pH sensor is a very common one, then potentiometer sensors, potentiometers. So, these are the chemical sensors. Likewise, gas sensors could be any of the gas sensors like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, methane gas sensor, those NOx gas sensors, and so on. So, there are different sensors. So, these are some of these different sensors, the chemical domain and in the gas domain that I have mentioned. If you recall, when we talked about sensors in the industry scale, we also talked about the development of a gas sensor, and I had shown you one of the facilities in our institute which basically deals with the gas sensor fabrication and how gas sensors can help in monitoring the concentration of different gases. Right. So, we have talked about that. So, those gas sensors are actually also applicable in these different industries, oil and gas industries, right. So, they could be used and for oil and gas industry, what also happens is typically from the point the oil and gas are procured or maybe generated, typically you will find that there are different ways of transporting that oil and gas, right. So, there are different gas pipes, big thick gas pipes of large diameters that can help in carrying the gas from one point to another. These are quite common, right. So, particularly the big oil industries, the big gas companies, they deploy these gas pipes for carrying the gas, for carrying oil from one point to another. So, one of the common problems with these gas lines, the distribution lines, is leakage. So, gas leakage, pipeline leakage or even the oil leakage might happen in any of the points in these transmission lines, and so leakage detection, leakage monitoring is also very important. So, basically the deployment of appropriate sensors for gas pipe monitoring is a very well known problem, and that is an application of IoT to improve the production, the transmission, the generation, and so on. So, this is just an example. Like this, different sensors could be used to solve different problems in the oil and gas industry. So, let us now take a brief look at IoT in the pharmaceutical industry. This is also very similar. So, the thing is that there are in the pharmaceutical industry you have different plants which are making different drugs and so on. These drugs are also used for the drugs and their monitoring of the drugs on different subjects, different animals and so on is also quite often done. So, IoT can help in doing these trials for the production process of the different drugs and so on, monitoring those in a much more efficient manner. For example, production of a vaccine, it goes through different steps, right. So, and finally, it goes through certain trials, different sorts of trials happen. So, these pharmaceutical companies, they take these different drugs through different equipments. These drugs are tried out in different phases, they are manufactured in different phases and finally tried out in through different subjects and so on before these drugs are released in the market. So, for this entire production process, the supply chain and so on, sensors and IoT solutions could be deployed in order to improve the processes, to monitor the quality of the drugs, the intermediate steps, monitoring the quality of these intermediate steps and so on. So, everything could be done in a much more efficient and precise manner. So, IoT sensors could be deployed in production areas, could help in getting huge huge data from these manufacturing departments in these pharmaceutical industries, can help in real time monitoring, can help in controlling these areas remotely, can improve the utilization of the equipments, the machinery, etc., and can help in reducing the production cost and wastage. So, these are some of these uses of IoT sensors in the pharmaceutical industries. So, IoT applications in pharmaceutical industry includes examination of the drugs, and not just the final drugs, but also the intermediate ones through which the processes that are incurred in between in order to transform these raw materials into the final drugs. So, throughout from the raw materials to the final drugs, examining the quality, the quantity, etc., also monitoring the different chemical reactions that are required in order to transform one part of the chemical to another part and so on. So, all of these basically in this entire process IoT solutions could be deployed. IoT solutions could be also deployed in order to detect adverse drug reactions, effects of pharmaceutical excipients, detecting allergies, other complications that might be happening. So, all of these drug reactions and allergies, etc., monitoring those, detecting those, everything could be done in the pharmaceutical industry. These are being done with the help of different appropriate sensors. So, quality control by real time monitoring, safe and secure drug delivery, deployment of different solutions to have improved manufacturing, improved monitoring, controlling distribution. These are the different other requirements in the pharmaceutical industry. Improving logistics, tracking the movement of pharmaceutical goods, improving warehousing, optimizing routing, maintenance of machines and equipment, inspecting the machines of medicines and vaccines. These are also going to improve with the incorporation or integration of IoT in the pharmaceutical industry. Before I end, I would like to list these different types of sensors that we are going to use in the pharmaceutical industry. So, for the pharmaceutical industry also, first of all, what happens is, let us say that a pharmaceutical industry makes certain drugs, right. So, there would be different raw materials. So, raw materials are going to be used. These raw materials are going to be taken through certain manufacturing process, and finally, the final products are going to be supplied, right. So, these are going to be delivered through trucks and other logistic means, etc., etc. So, these raw materials undergo different types of processing. These raw materials would be subjected to different chemical treatment. These raw materials are going to be subjected through different pressure, under certain pressure condition, temperature condition, in certain humidity condition and so on, performing different reactions with different agents, reagents under certain temperature, humidity, lighting condition and so on. So, all of these things are going to happen. So, what sensors are going to be used? In addition to certain chemical detection specific sensors, other sensors such as temperature sensor, because you need to conduct a certain reaction or maybe a titration under certain temperature settings in a certain lighting condition. So, light sensors, temperature sensor, light sensor, pressure sensor, in a certain pressure condition these reactions have to happen. So, pressure sensors like this, there are different other sensors that could also be used in the pharmaceutical industry. So, let me just write the names of some of these sensors. So, temperature sensor, light sensors, then you have pressure sensors, maybe humidity sensor, and if you have some kind of chemical reactions, these different chemicals chemical sensors for detecting maybe the pH level, right. So, pH level. So, you could have the pH sensors detect the alkalinity or the acidity of the different products or the byproducts in the chemical reaction and the transformation process, right. So, these are these different sensors, some of these different sensors that could be used. So, finally, we come to an end of in this lecture, and as usual these are these different references. I would encourage you to go through these different references. There are lots of videos that you could also use to get better understanding of the applications of IoT in this different industry. Even in the oil industry, gas industry, pharmaceutical industry, there are a lot of different videos. You could try it out in different open media such as YouTube, etc. A lot of different videos exist. So, these are these references, and finally, we come to an end. Thank you.